Hello and welcome to the Non-Perfect Parents Club podcast. I'm Emma, a mama of 2 girls, an ex-nursery practitioner and the creator of the Non-Perfect Parents Club. The Non-Perfect Parents Club is all about support, honesty, truths, acknowledging that none of us can be perfect parents because it's impossible, and basically just speaking the unspoken. The only rule here is no judgment allowed. I love hearing people's stories. I love finding out about other parents, their family dynamics, their values and how they tick. So that is what this podcast is going to be. Some great honest conversations about parenting, hopefully delving into some nitty-gritty thoughts and feelings that will make us all laugh, cry and sigh a big sigh of relief. Hello and welcome back to the Non-Perfect Parents Club podcast. Today I'm joined by Kane. Hi Kane and welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Hi Emma, you alright?
So, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your family dynamic and any heritage.
Yeah, a little bit about myself. I'm a local lad, Kane from Heysham. I'm married, been married about 8 years now. I've got 3 kids. Eldest is 7, middle child's 4. They're both girls, and then my youngest, he was a stillborn. That happened 2 months ago,
Right.
So it's still quite fresh, really. But yeah.
Gosh. Okay. The main rule of the Non-Perfect Parents Club is no judgment allowed. Have you ever felt judged in your parenting, and can you tell us about it?
Judging parenting, I think as a dad, or as a male really, in any situation, I think getting judged happens really every day. For example, just think of one on the top of my head. As a male parenting is very different to female parenting, and as a male, as a dad, something so simple as getting your phone out in a park when your kid's there to take a picture of him, you're under the spotlight.
Yeah.
So when I'm off, I'm in the army, so I don't get a lot of time off. Mm-hmm. And when I am off, I try and do it as much as I can with the kids, as much as I can. So on Fridays up at Overton School, they do a assembly, which is like a worship, and the parents can go in to watch. Yeah. So every time I'm off, I'll go in to watch. Yeah. When the parents couldn't make it, they put in a group chat. Can one of the parents take some pictures of the son when they get an award? My wife asked me to do it, and I would never say no because you're depriving the other parents of that little moment with the child. But I felt so nervous getting my phone out. Yeah. To take a picture of another lad getting his awards, even though I got permission from his parents, I still felt very uncomfortable because people that in there that knew me would have known he's not my child. Yeah. Or if they didn't know that, they'd still probably be a bit like, well, who's he getting a photo of really there? Mm-hmm. But yeah, being judged, it does happen a lot really.
Does it bother
you?
Yes. I find like when I've recorded with mums, they've got so much to talk about judgment. Yeah. And then the couple of dads that I've recorded with, they have obviously been judged, but they're not bothered by it. So I tend to find, I'm just like thinking, is that a difference? Whereas mums are more conscious about it, whereas dads are just like, well, this is what I'm doing and that's that.
I do agree with you. I was listening to a podcast previously of Kieran, and he stated that he wasn't bothered by it. Like he's just kind of cracked on. He's a strong man, like. But I think everybody's different, and as myself, I feel quite uncomfortable.
You do,
I think, yeah. But that's just normal. Some people won't care, will they? They're like that. But give credit to him, innit?
Yeah. But that's a really interesting point that you've brought up there about like the taking the pictures and being on your phone and stuff, because that's maybe something that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of.
Also because I do have 2 young girls as well, I think that's also a bit. Normally dads, you see dads, they take the sons, don't they, and then the mums take the daughters. But like another reason, like example, we went swimming the other week during the school holidays. It's the same thing. You're taking your daughter into the shower, aren't you? You're then taking her into the changing room, and you're getting a change and dressed and dried, and then swimming lessons every weekend. Saturdays, the youngest goes, and on the Sundays the eldest goes, and I normally do them lessons. I don't mind. I'd rather get up at 8:30 or whatever it is, 9 o'clock, and I like to get out with them and do them lessons with him, see him doing it and see him improving. But then you also have that dread of having to take him into the males' changing rooms after. Also, stuff with those changing rooms, it's not a great place for a child, and probably one thing moving forward is I think people should probably try and do kids changing rooms. I think with curtains and stuff like that, and a bit more privacy.
I can massively relate to that. So I take my youngest swimming to her swimming lessons, and there was a week where I couldn't do it, and I'd asked my husband to take, because he's normally at work, so I'd asked him to finish early and take her, and she didn't want to go with him. We ended up getting my eldest to go, because she didn't want to go in the male changing rooms. And even now, if she thinks she wants her dad to come and watch her, but she still wants me to come because she doesn't want to go
to
in
do the ladies part of that. I understand that. Another one as well, with like being a dad, going out with your kids. Males' toilets are absolutely horrendous. I have this conversation with my wife all the time. I love doing my part when we go out places. If it's a nice restaurant, I take my kids to the toilets if they need it. But because when they're still young, you still need to supervise them in doing that.
Definitely.
But when you go somewhere else, some places are disgusting. And then the other day I took my daughters to dancing. Just dropped them off. We get there, classic. Just before walking in, I need the toilet. Went to the males. It was a mess. So I tried to open the females' doors, told them to go in, and I stand at the door. They threw a big pad in, as you do, because they're insecure. They don't know where they're going. It's the first time they've been there, and then I'm thinking back on my head is, if I go in there, a woman comes in, it screams as it's a movie, isn't it? Like it's the whole. Oh my God, what's going on here?
And I've always said there does need to be a lot more. Like, I don't know if provision's the right word, but for dads, like I always said, like when in the hospital when babies are being born, and it really annoyed me that locally dad can't stay, and I think they are trying to make slight changes to this now, but it's that thing of dad doesn't usually want to go home, he wants to be there, and you've just given birth, you don't want to be on your own with the child. There's so much that I think is still very archaic when it comes to mums and dads, and dads do a lot more now, and there's a lot more, we want it to be more equal in terms of parenting.
No, I 100% agree with that. Definitely the situation I've been in a couple of months ago with having Sonny. So Sonny was what's classed as a late miscarriage.
Right.
My wife had to then be induced and deliver him as a still. That situation was very different compared to our two other births.
Yeah.
So normally, like you say there, you give birth and everybody kind of gets ushered out, don't they? And overnight you kind of have to go home and come back in the early hours. But with there, I'd give a good shout to Lancaster Hospital. They're so good with everything, really. They gave us a good night with him and never made her feel alone at all, and let me always be there all the time, even if when we're in a ward, we had our own room, just so them sort of stereotypes what you're saying there about where you get kicked out straight away because you're a dad or whatever. That wasn't the case with that situation, which is amazing, really.
Good, so I'm going to go a little bit rogue here in it. I'm going to just deviate off the questions if you don't mind me. Please say if you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to find out a little bit about, obviously you've been in the army, that's a whole different dynamic to what we've had on the podcast before. So how is that as a dad? Obviously you're leaving your family for, I'm guessing, long periods of time. How's that for you and for your, is it wife?
Yeah,
Sorry.
my wife, yeah. It's tough, it's very hard. I think I worked it out the other day. I'm currently based abroad at the moment. And apart from being home on compassionate at the moment for the past 2 months, which I'm going back next week, apart from them, these 2 months I've been home, I was only home once before, and that was 2 weeks at Christmas.
Right.
So you think from last August to June time, I was home Christmas for 2 weeks, and they came out to me for a long weekend around Easter time. So you can just tell you're sacrificing a lot there.
Yeah.
I hate it as well.
Do you?
Like, you want a good career to earn good money to provide for your kids, but it's more to being a parent than providing.
Yeah.
And this past year has probably been our most challenging, I would say. Because other years prior to that I've been based in the UK and I can get home every weekend, or if you have an early finish on a Wednesday,
you would, well, I say you would, but most people do sacrifice the evening by travelling 3 hours to get home, just for 2 nights to tuck the kids into bed and spend the night on the sofa with the missus watching Netflix or some Emmerdale or something.
Yeah.
You do sacrifice that, and you get up again early the next day to drive back. You would do that. I'm not saying everybody would do that. I have met some people in the army that they're not great dads, and I think being a parent, I think it just sometimes comes naturally to you, but at the same time it can be worked on. I think a good woman behind you, or a good partner in general, can really help you be motivated to push forward. My wife's very much child orientated with the kids, and she's very much, as a family we need to do this, and I'm all for that, but I can see how that can also drag families apart, where you get a bit of someone stubborn, they'll be like, no, I'm not coming home, I'm not driving 3 hours to tuck them into bed. But to the kid, you just being there to read them a story and put them to bed, they absolutely love that.
How do your kids find it? Do they ever say anything like...
Yeah, when it comes to leaving, it's the worst time ever. Prior to me being based abroad, it wasn't too bad, because there was always a routine of Daddy's at work Monday to Friday, I'm at home on the weekends, and I did kind of just take over. I like to just play the part. As a wife, some women probably love that. My wife's still a bit like, no, they're still in my routine kind of thing. Like, let's try and keep the routine the same. But you just do the jobs of running around to all the different classes. You know what I mean? Do the ironing. But they find it very hard. I think my eldest feels it more. She's 7 now, and emotionally, I think her emotions are quite all over the shop. But we are very proud of her, because how she just keeps chugging her way and pretty much conquering life. She's doing so well. I think it is very hard, because Daddy's not here at the moment, and it's not like I'm back on a weekend or. But another good thing is technology. Technology is amazing. I tend to notice when I first go away, I get FaceTimes every hour or whatever. After school, before school, lunchtime, just show me what they're eating. Do you know what I mean? They get an ice pop off the granddad. They FaceTime me and be like, oh, I got an ice pop. Alright, and the next second, the camera's facing the ceiling for 20 minutes because they ran away. Do you know what I mean? But then I notice more throughout the time of me being away, it tends to die down a bit. It's then every 3 days they might want to do it. I don't like forcing it on them. So I noticed at first, if I ring them and they're not interested. The kids aren't there, the free spirits.
That's it.
They're very young, she's 4, and she's just like, like whatever. Do you know what I mean? Not bothered. Whereas, I think you just can't force it on them. And then throughout the time there, it keeps getting longer and longer. And then they get a burst when the tears come and they start ringing you back every 10 minutes again. But I don't mind that. I'd rather stop doing what I'm doing work-wise if it's not important anyway. And the kids always got to be first.
Okay, next question. How do you feel about parenting? Good, bad? Has it changed you? Any regrets?
Yeah, I was really thinking about this, actually, to be fair, and I think being a parent for me, I don't think my life really started until I was a parent. And I'd say I was pretty young being a parent. I think my life has been a really big roller coaster. Anybody that really knows me will know it's not a normal upbringing of other people, but understanding person would really have. But as a parent, it's a tough question, really. No. Yes, it has changed me. I'm trying to think. Yes, it has massively, to be fair. But as a person, I think my foundations were always there. But I think being a parent's kind of polished me off. I think I've always had my beliefs in how people should be and how you should always try and be respectful and how you are. But probably my straight talking sort of attitude had stopped. So maybe maturity behind it. I've matured a lot in that sense of maybe I can't speak exactly how I want to speak because my kids are there. Do you know what I mean? I need to take a moment, and my wife probably agreed with me with that one. I think when I was younger, it probably got me in trouble.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, he's going off again. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He's ranting again. You know, he's having a moan. With the kids, you can't do that, can you? But I don't really have any regrets, no. The only regrets I probably have with parenting is I probably should have maybe earlier in life changed my career path. I think I've done 10 years now in the army.
Right.
I'm 29 years old. I'm coming to a crossroads where I need to make a decision where if that's to leave the army or I fully commit to the army. A unique situation with me and my wife is that she's never come with me within the army. She doesn't really know much about it. I try and keep army life away from them.
Yeah.
I think if I never told my kids I was in the army, they'd probably just think I've worked away.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I never take anything. I don't like taking uniform home. I don't like taking anything like that. So, yeah, I try to keep that away. I grew up in the army as a pad brat. My stepdad, who's no longer my stepdad, is a man my mum married, who's an absolute amazing guy who raised me up as a child. He's in the army, so he raised me alongside my mum, and then they separated when I was in my teens, which then sadly we parted ways, and then I still have contact with him, but I don't have contact with my mum anymore.
Right, okay.
So I think a lot of things he does as parenting within the army and how he has a family now, I take a lot of things from him, and I go to him for loads of different advices. If I need help with anything, he's probably the number one person I go to at the moment.
So I feel like I need to ask you more questions on that. So that was your life as a child. Is that why you keep it separate for your family?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, 100%. That is probably why. I think I had a really good life growing up. I just go back a little bit because I didn't really answer the first question fully. I was a local lad around here. My mum and my dad was together. They separated when I was very young, pretty much a baby.
Yeah.
I went through the whole. They had like joint custody. I went to my dad's on a weekend.
Yeah.
My mum met another guy called Andy, and what an amazing person he was. He was a very young lad. He was about 10 years, I think, younger than my mum. And he took a family of, I think, 4 of us at the time. Yeah, he took a family of 4 on. And he was only about 19. And he took him on. He literally... my eldest sister, I think, something like 5 or 6 years younger than him. It's quite crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
Later on, my birth dad, he passed away. He had a heart attack and died at quite a very young age. And Andy literally took the family on as his own. He moved us away from where he was living at the time on the marsh. He moved us away to Chester, Dale Barracks, which is like a lovely place growing up as a child, Chester. Do you know what I mean? We lived probably half a mile away from the zoo.
Right.
Just everything. The aquarium was probably about a mile down the road. Everything's amazing. The schools were... The area, as you know it, it's higher end than it is locally, which is a shame, but that is it, isn't it? He brought us up. He raised us, put his own. We travelled the country with him, with his work. It was lovely. I look back now, I got a lot of life experience from that, but I don't have them childhood friends of having them around all the time and stuff like that. Compare it to my wife's life. She's got friends that she went to nursery with and primary school, and our daughters now go to the same primary school she went to in Overton, and that the community spirit there is amazing. The teachers remember my wife, and they always talk to the kids about how they look like their mum and little things like that, and how it compares really. But then with my life, I think it was completely different, where I was living in Chester, lived in London, and then I got to the age of about 13, 14, and my mum and Andy, who the guy who is my dad, I look at him as my dad. He raised me, and got a big love for men that can take on a family that's not theirs by blood, but gives 100%.
And I think it takes a really strong man to do that.
It takes a certain person to do that. 100%. And I've got friends now that do that, and I look at them with
in awe, really, because
Yeah.
it's amazing. Because
Yeah.
I'm in this sort of job where, sadly, anything can happen.
Yeah.
So anything can happen, and if anything happens to me, I would love for my wife to move on with. My kids can kind of have someone they can look up to again, like what I had in Andy. He was an amazing guy, and I think he installed everything that's in me. And I like
Does
that.
that worry you? That,
Yeah,
is that like a big worry?
That's my worst worry. I think
Yeah.
the worry behind it is I work with a lot of men in a very male dominant world, and not a lot of them are very nice people, and I see it every day. Like, some people you just look at and you think, how they're still walking the streets, really. Cause, and I think that works. It's in every job. It's in every walks of life. Someone can work in co-op or Asda or anybody like that, and they can be horrible people, but no one really knows the true ins and outs of them. But I think when you're working within the army or any forces, you're on top of each other every day. You literally, you finish work and you go back to your accommodation, you live right next to the guy. Do you know what I mean? So you get to know each other really well, and some people aren't very nice people, and it's a shame, really. And so my biggest fear for me is if something ever happened to myself in life, even just crossing the road and getting hit by a motor, sadly, if anything ever happened to me, my wife would meet someone actually a decent bloke, because you get some women out there that they get a bad roll of the dice, and they've had multiple bad men, really, and not very nice people, which is a shame.
And I guess obviously when there's children involved, that's a whole different ball game, isn't it? Like
there's little lives, isn't there? Like I look back now with Andy, he was such a good man. He took us on and he gave us such a nice upbringing, where he could have been a different man, and that could have been an opposite upbringing. It could have been
changed your whole life, really.
Yeah, of course it could have.
He
could have. Yeah, he could have been the opposite spiral, which sadly within the army you do see that, because you do get a lot of divorces, and you do get a lot of different dads coming in, or different mums coming in, and some people don't want to play the stepdad role or the stepmom role. They want to just be the husband or the girlfriend or the partner or whatever it is to that person. They don't want them to actually step in and take the roles, which also goes down to, I think, with parenting myself. I'm not a stepdad or nothing like that, but I've seen it where if I go out with my wife and my kids and they bring their friends along. For example, yesterday I went to Gulliver's World, and we went with my wife's friend and their kids, and their son was misbehaving at one point, which, by the way, she's a single mother and she does a fantastic job. I looked at her and I thought, wow, what she's doing is amazing. But as you know, no full day with children that is planned, or do you know? And it's very hectic. So for about an hour of that day, the little boy was misbehaving. What's that down to? Maybe being a bit tired, long journey. Could be loads of different things. He had wet feet because we took him on a ride. Do you know what I mean? So next second his socks are wet. And he's moaned. That's probably triggered it. And then he had probably about an hour where he was a bit, do you know what I mean, kicking off a bit. You could see she was struggling a little bit because she was trying to get him fed and get his socks dry and stuff like that. And my wife was like, go and do something, trying to help her out. But I felt like it wasn't my place to do that. I think because I know I'm a guy and he's a boy, and sometimes you have that connection, but at the same time I'd hate to try and step in and parent someone else's child, because I've had it done before where you're down on one knee and you're trying to discipline your kid, just telling them what they're doing is wrong, and then someone's coming up and going, do you want to go and do this? And you kind of like, or taking them off you, and they kind of just gone with them because they're the scapegoat, aren't they? And then you're kind of thinking, I've not got anywhere there because I'm trying to discipline them, tell them what's wrong, and they've just took them off you. So then you're all day bitter, aren't you? You're a bit like, why have they just done that?
Like they're trying to help, but that isn't what you need in that
moment.
No,
I think at that moment, some people probably do want that. Some people probably at that moment where they're like, just take them away. But I feel like the situations I've been in, I don't want that. I kind of want me to sort the problem out, and then they can go away, and then you can do the classic when the kids are away, you talk about them.
Is there anything in your life that has shaped how you parent that you're happy to talk about? Any situations, circumstances that have affected this? I mean, we've probably discussed this a little bit already, but...
Yeah, like I touched on there, I think my life as as a child myself, was shaped a lot by Andy. He was like I keep saying, he's a fantastic guy because he is. You know what I mean? He deserves all the kudos he gets really. So I think my life as a parent got shaped by him as a parent because I saw how he was growing up, and it's like the most ideal. No one's a perfect parent, but to me, he probably was the most closest to perfect parent I could get to or to see really. I would also say probably my in-laws as well. I don't have a great relationship with my mum. Okay. Sadly, when her and Andy separated, she didn't go the correct way. I think as a parent, as a human, she didn't go down the correct paths, and I think that affected me and my siblings drastically to the point of being we don't really have a family anymore. We don't talk. We talk very rare, and it's never polite conversations. It's not very nice. So I think because of all that stemmed from her. My in-laws, so because of my in-laws, I've been with my wife since I was 14.
Right.
So I've been pretty much around her house since I was 14 years old. So with my in-laws, I've seen how her dad parents, her mum parents, I've seen how her family is like. To me, is a perfect family. Like they might not think that because every family has the ups and downs, don't they? But to me, their family is like it's to me, it's the golden standard, really, the platinum edition. They're great people. They both parents are together. The dad bickers because the mum always asking the It's like the classic family home, isn't it? Like it's the normal. I feel like a lot of my traits have probably come from my father-in-law as well. So like even like you pick up on the mannerisms, you pick up on stuff he does. How when the wife's home from work, he goes out and starts messing in the garden. Do you know what I mean? Like the classic dad thing. And just seeing how her mum as well, just how she is as a proper mum. She's always, when she's home from work, she's ringing the kids, which the kids are like 40 years old to her. Do you know what I mean? 40, 30 into the late 20s, and she's ringing them, pecking their heads on what you done to your house? How's it been? How's the grandkids? And it's really nice. It's what you want from a parent, really. Because my wife has it, and my mother-in-law doesn't listen to this because like she ring my wife, and my wife be like, "Oh, what's she wanting?" And I'm thinking in my head, I would love for my mum to ring me, but she doesn't, and I would love for her to just one day just ring me and be like, "How you been? How's work been? How's this? How's the grandkids?" But really, I get a text message once every 3 months or something, where she's very lucky to have a mum. She does, because she is a really fantastic woman. And I think that's with her whole family. I think they're really, but I think they do know deep down how lucky they are compared to a lot of other families.
Yeah, I think that just listening to you talk and stuff and your situation, I think that's really amazing how you've had such strong role models in your life that has then I guess helped you to kind of, because your life could have gone a completely different way, and you often find that when you maybe haven't got that support you need or the right kind of parenting, that often people can repeat those cycles rather than make a change, and you've not done that. You've kind of used the role models that you've had and shaped your life in a completely different way to what it could have gone. And I guess that just shows like how strong you are as a person as well. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with what you're saying, and I think it's not been a clear run for myself. No. It's been very difficult. Definitely people coming in and out of my life. As I think that's why I want stability for my kids and my family, because I don't want people coming in and out of their lives. I'd rather cut someone off than someone pop in every 6 months. I'd rather they just didn't come in. I'd rather use a permanent person, a visitor, or someone that's not really there. You need to be one or the other. You can't be this semi-attack sort of thing of.
No,
do you know what I mean?
Agree. Totally.
But I agree with you. I feel like I've needed characters in my life to kind of mould me the way I am at the moment. I think I'm not a polished shilling. I think my wife really understands that. I think she probably understands me more as a person than other people. I have my days where I'm not a nice person. I'm a nice person. But some days where you're just miserable and you have them days, don't you? And I think definitely when with children, they can really bring it out of you where you feel really drained and you feel like, wow,
Yeah.
am I doing all right here, kind of thing. And I think I do get that support from my wife. But like you're saying there, with role models and definitely males in my life, I've had a few that's come in and out, and you actually it molds you for not wanting that for your kids, because you don't want your kids to have 12 different uncles or whatever it is, and different stepdads and people like that.
Yeah. What is your biggest value when it comes to parenting?
My biggest value coming into parenting, probably the values I got brought up on. And it isn't until I joined the army until I noticed Andy probably installed the army's sort of values in me,
Right.
which is being respectful to other people, integrity, of never lying, always owning up to your mistakes, which is massive with my children. And I'd rather they've done something bad, I'd rather they just told me the truth, and then we can just talk about it and what's the correct way of probably going around it, and what's the wrong way, which they should kind of steer away from.
Yeah.
Probably a bit of loyalty as well. Loyalty with the your other siblings, family members. If you're out with your, for example, my eldest is out playing in the front with the youngest. If her friends come along, you don't just leave your daughter, your sister out. It's not fair. It's like little things like that, really. Trying to think as well. Probably being committed to the family as well. As I was saying before, I want the kids to just remember who the family is, and if their cousins are coming around, they should drop what they're doing and come and spend 10 minutes with the cousins, give them a warm welcome, and let them stay when they come around nice, not something they're coming to like a hostile environment, and they're a bit like they don't want to play with me, and then they don't want to come again. Because that straight away can make rifts in families, can't it? And you don't want a rift in a family. You want everybody being on side, and you want your support bubble, your circle being as big as it can. I think definitely with me being in the army, my wife's support bubble is quite strong, to be fair. A lot of the in-laws do step in when I'm away to help out. Her dad does a lot of stuff. But my wife goes to work, she's got a full-time job. And her hours ain't the best. They're from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, 9 at night. So her dad will drop the kids off at school when I'm not there. He'll pick them up from school, he'll feed them tea, he'll bath them and put them to bed. And the guy's nearly touching 80. Do you know what I mean? He can do that, which is amazing.
Did she already have quite a strong support network anyway, or kind of did she ensure that she'd got that when you?
No, because of her family background, like I was saying before, how good her family is. She's never. I don't think she's ever even had to ask. They was always there, which is so good.
Yeah,
which,
that's lovely.
If I never had my wife, I was saying this the other day. If I didn't have my wife, I don't think I would be have a family. My family's not really. We're not a family, so I wouldn't have anybody. If I had a dark day, I wouldn't be able to pick my phone up and talk to anybody. Where I'm in a position now because I'm a part of her family. I like to think so after 14 years. I can pick my phone up. I can message a brother if I need something. If I need to go out to the pub and have a pint, he will probably come with me, or he'll do something. Again with her sisters or anybody really. I like to think they've got that sort of network that it works, and it's support for everybody. I think the full family has support. I think you see that as well on the weekends. The nephews now, they've got to that age where they're playing football. You got to see it on the group chat. The families, they're telling them they're playing, who they're playing and what time. Half the families down there. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's in the waterproofs and they're all watching the nephews, which is absolutely amazing. Because you would never, not a lot of families do that. No one wants to really, some people, they've got nephews and nieces, but they don't be able to go around all the time. They see each other straight away every weekend they're there. So the family's seeing each other all the time. It's really nice, and I think you need support in life.
Definitely, you do, yeah.
But in the situation we're in, she is sadly a single mother. I'm not there. She is a single mum. She needs that support, and luckily she does get that support, and that gives me the warm fuzzy feeling when I am away.
Yeah, I guess does that make it slightly easier for you when you're away, knowing that she's got that support?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I think if she didn't have that support, the questions I'm already questioning myself on now, which is should I look at leaving? I think that question would have came up a long time ago,
Right.
a lot prior to now.
Yeah.
I think that would have came up and that would have been a big thing. But now I think I've come to a position where I've hit 10 years, and sadly over 10 years I've seen a massive decline within the military, which is, I think that's the public view on the military. No one seems to be that fussed anymore.
Yeah.
The Afghan war's pretty much stopped, hasn't it? You never see anything in the news. If anything does happen, it's never on the news. It's never in a paper. It's not in the front like it used to be.
Yeah.
It's like page 15, isn't it? It's what, miles back. And I think because of that, I think you kind of lose interest as well, because the public's eyes lost interest, and you kind of feel like, why are you doing that? Why am I sacrificing my time away now? Why have I sacrificed pretty much 10 months away from my kids this past year? For what?
Yeah.
And that's a shame, really. But I feel like coming into the next couple of years will be a big turning point, and then hopefully my wife wouldn't have to rely on that sport bubble as much as she is doing at the moment, because she can just rely on myself, and hopefully I can do that as a parent, really.
Yeah. What has been your biggest challenge so far?
Biggest challenge so far was there's been a few. The first biggest challenge was probably having our young eldest daughter. The change from going from a young married man that could go out on a Friday night and have some beers with his friend and all that sort of jazz, to being a dad. Your priorities change.
Yeah.
I can't even drink half the beers they do nowadays, because you never go out, do you, to even sample what they are. I remember going to a pub the other day. We went out, me and my wife, and I was thinking to myself, where's that Foster's gone, or the Carlsberg gone? It's all like posh drinks, isn't it? But yeah, I think that was a big challenge.
It's a massive transition, isn't it?
Yeah, the transition of it is it's so scary. Definitely as a young young adult yourself, which is like, you're 21 years old.
At the time, did you feel young?
I felt like a man, but when I had a child, or even look back on some photos, I feel like I was a boy still.
Yeah.
I felt like I was a mature man in the army. Do you know what I mean? Had a world at his feet, had a beautiful wife, nice house, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I was planning, my life was set up, and then I look back now and I think I was a little boy. And I see that now in some lads in the army. One lad the other month was like, oh, I'm going to get married. Oh, how long do you know this girl for? It's like, 6 months. How old are you? He's like 22, whatever he is, 21. And I'm thinking, don't do it, but like, oh mate, you're so young still.
Yeah.
But then I look back at when I was 22, I was married, had a house, had a kid, had a dog, and I look back now, it's so stressful. Tina's sister, she's just had a baby boy. She brought him home yesterday. And that's another thing. I was helping her partner set up the bottle making machine, which is amazing. Press the button, absolutely amazing. And I was helping set that up, and I felt quite proud of myself, really, because I feel like what I've gone through there, they never used it before. But when her partner had kids, she used the old classic kettle and the bottle, and do you know what I mean, the old school way. I was kind of showing her how to work it. It was like buzzing, and I felt really proud of myself. Really, I felt like I became like a full circle in parenting. Like what I learned as a parent 7 years ago, as a very young lad, I've gone a full circle. I'm kind of like rubbing it onto someone else, really, which is good. I think as a parent, you should be helping each other out.
That's it. And as parents, you need other parents. You need that kind of advice and support.
I think as well, and other challenges, adapting to having a second child. That was a big jump. Everything changes. I was talking to my wife again yesterday. We was talking about like cars, and you know when you make that like change up to like a 7-seater. But we didn't get a 7-seater. We just bought a massive ugly car. And I remember, and I was like laughing. She's saying that she'll love a 7-seater, even if we don't have any more kids. She just love one because it's so practical. It's so good, isn't it?
So much easier.
Yeah, so much easier. And like going for long days out. Like yesterday, we all went. Our family and her friend's family, we all went in the same car. Like it was just so easy. And we was talking about the cars, and She was like, yeah, I really think the next car we should get is like a 7-seater. And then we got on to talk about that. I was like, well, why did you get rid of that really ugly car? It was like a spaceship. It was massive. So why did you get rid of that? She went, because she, you know, when you go past like a building or like and you can see your it's like a mirror, isn't it? You can see yourself in it. She said, I looked into it and I thought, oh my God. I'm young, like she was like, must have been 23 or something.
Yeah.
She's young, she's driving this absolute monster of a car. It was so ugly and she thought, I had to change.
Yeah.
I remember we only had that car for about 2 months or something. It really wasn't long. It was like a spaceship. Yeah, so it's like just like the challenges of a transitioning to that, to another one. Having a dog as well, that was so stressful. Me being away. So the challenge for my wife was a massive one. When my youngest daughter was born, she was born on the 3rd of January, and then I deployed into the Middle East, into Kuwait, on like the 20th. So I think I just got my paternity leave and then went straight back into work, and I went on a little task in abroad for just shy of 2 months, which I look back now and I really do regret that. Yeah. Really do regret it, because I never sorted my wife there. I could have put her down a path of postnatal depression easily, and then you never really think about that at the time. No. But now as a mature adult, I look into that and think how important it is for females to have that support at that time. Yeah. Or not even for females, parents, for that postnatal depression. You don't want them to... You want to be there for them. You don't want to create a problem for them. And I probably could have potentially have created that problem. Which, again, very thankful to her support circle, because she didn't have that problem in the... That could have come from myself, which you can imagine probably the guilt. So that's another thing. Challenges throughout whole of parenting. Yeah. And then the big decision of having 2 girls, and as a guy, I've never really been bothered about having a boy. I'm not that sort of bothered about, you know, carrying your name on. Yeah. I don't think it's a big thing. I just think it's old school tradition. Yeah. But my wife did say to me at the start of the year, I believe it was, or maybe at Christmas when I came home, she said, do you think we should give it a go, kind of thing? But we did, we looked into it. We thought, if it happens, it happens. She got pregnant, and then we did when I came home, she did like a little gender reveal. And it was a boy. It was so buzzing. Because she told me, she's like, to be fair, I wouldn't have done a gender reveal if I knew it was a girl. Because you've already got 2. But because I really wanted to see like your face and the excitement and stuff, I wanted to do it. So she knew the gender. She didn't tell me she knew it. You know, the classic. I don't know. But she just wanted me to kind of have that happiness moment, really. And then sadly, I was away working. Right. But luckily for me, I was working in the UK. Right. So again, based abroad. But sadly, when you do courses, not sadly, but when you do courses, a lot of courses are within England or Wales, or all over the UK, really. And luckily for me, I was in South Wales at the time. And I was on a range. And I remember on a range, obviously, all the weapons are going off and a lot of bangs and everything like that. I remember all day I had no signal. I was on the top of a big hill, and then my phone started vibrating. I pulled it out, and then that's when I suddenly got given the news of my wife went for a checkup, and they thought whilst doing the checkup, well, we just do a little scan whilst we're here. I was trying to be nice to her. Yeah. Well, we do a little scan whilst you're here. Yeah. This is the baby. Sadly, there was no heartbeat left in the baby, and I had to get rushed back. I literally got crashed out of work within probably about an hour, which is, to be fair, really good of the army. Yeah. That within like an hour, they managed to pull me off a range. Right. Get all my stuff, and then I was in a 4-hour vehicle back up north, getting driven as well. So instead of me driving, they didn't want that. They managed to pull 2 lads from work and pretty much said that you're driving this lad 4 hours up north and 4 hours back down tonight, which they wasn't bothered about because they had the next day off and stuff like that. And the army just kind of do stuff like that. But
so what was like that journey like for you?
That journey for me, it didn't hit. Nothing hit. I remember being in the vehicle and I got driven to another point on an area which had signal, and they're saying to me, the guy who did it was a really nice guy, to be fair, and he was like, mate, I'm just gonna get out of the car. You have a cry, and I'm like, but I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't need a cry because it's not hit me, and I'm a bit like, what's he on about him? Like, do you know what I mean? I was a bit
About it.
I just didn't have a clue. But
Yeah.
it didn't really hit. Like, I think it hit him more than it hit me when I told him. And obviously I rung my wife. She was in bits. Her friend had to talk to me on the phone instead of my wife, which is understandable. Again, she had the support of her friend that day. They told me, there's had news of Sonny not having a heartbeat. And I remember saying to my wife then as well on the phone, which sometimes as a husband, then in the army, you're not there for your wife at all. I remember saying to her, like, I'm going to be here for you, I'm going to support you. Because all she was thinking in her head was, oh, you're on this really important job course, like career course that you need to get done. I got home, I just remember giving her a hug and a tears, and if the emotion of the next couple of days, horrendous. The next day we had to go up to the hospital, and anybody that deals with like a late sort of miscarriage, you have to deliver the baby still. So my wife had to be induced at the hospital, stayed there. And it's the classic, I think every parent knows this, I think when you go into the hospital to give birth to a baby, the dad's always starving, isn't he? Because the hospital is always like, yeah, right, love, do you want some tea and toast? And you're lucky as a guy to get a coffee, aren't you? And my wife's like, listen, just go out and get some food, you've been here all day. I was like, yes, I know. So I remember walking out the hospital, and she messaged me going, I think you might be coming actually. And I was like, oh, how long have I got? She's, oh, you got time, go and get some food. I remember getting down towards KFC, and then she was like, get up here now. He's coming. I remember we were going straight up there, and it's a bit of a weird situation really, definitely as a woman and as a male being a part of it. I've been there for both my kids' births, my children's births, which I'm very happy about, but this one was, the way it's laid out, it's still the same sort of process. You still get the contractions and you still have everything of it. And I remember when he came out, I remember seeing him come out, and my wife didn't see him. And I remember kind of just like looking at him, still thinking like, what a beautiful little boy. You're still my son, do you know what I mean? And I remember the midwife, she was amazing as well. And she was like, oh, just go take him and get him cleaned up and I'll bring him back. And I remember my wife, you know when you kind of look at someone's face and it's kind of like the relief of it's being over, done with, but at the same time, that sudden worriness, like she wants him to be safe. I remember she brought him back in and he comes in like a little cot, sort of coffin thing. Cot? Yeah, with like it was beautiful, you know, it was like really nice, like how it's all stitched, and they've got certain people that do it, and he's laid there and he's like a little blanket on it, he's so cute. And I remember we just had him, we was like, can we just have him for a little bit? Like, have him as long as you want. And this is like 27 minutes past 9 at night, so that at this point now where we've kept him overnight with us in the room, like we've had a night together with him, you know, just constantly could see her face of, I think she felt so much guilt that it's happened, and then I was struggling to even show how do you support a woman in that sort of situation, and that's a challenge there. It's probably one of the hardest challenges I've been through as a man in life, not just parenting. And then I remember the next day, I remember waking up, and I remember waking up, I felt so much guilt, because I've woke up and she was already awake. And I felt like, oh, I've left her whilst I've slept. And she's crying, and we're looking at him, and sadly at this point, you can when the body passes away, you can start seeing it change. And we as much as we didn't want to let him go, we knew it was the right time to go. I remember getting the midwives and just saying, I couldn't even say it really. I was like, my words were all mumbled, and it was just more of like a point and a shrug kind of thing. And they just knew really. That process of that there, and then the whole challenge of that day really. That day is probably the hardest day of my life. Of trying to get my wife back home, then comfort her. Also got kids at home, and again we drastically relied on the support for the first 2 days probably of her dad, who really helped us out really, and her mum and all the family really. Everybody was so nice. The worst part of that whole challenge was letting it be known to other people, because sadly after we turned our phones back on after 2 or 3 days, Tina waited ages, days, and probably up to a week, whatever, to really go back on her phone, and we had to let it be known to people, because you can't then go around on social media and start deleting all your posts, and people start going, what's going on. And I remember having my phone turned on. A really good friend of mine, he messaged me out of the blue, and he was just like, because he's also in the army, so he's been away, he's just in the news, and he was like, oh mate, I bet you're so buzzing about having a boy, because it's still so fresh. It was literally 5 days after the reveal. I remember just looking at it, I didn't open it, and then I said to Tina, we need to do something here, because people are still messaging. So I had to let it be known over social media, which is something me and her would never do, because we were very private people, and it's on a really big public domain. And I then remember going back on my phone, I could see that he deleted the message, and then another message underneath just saying like he's really sorry and stuff. I remember just being like, it's not your fault, mate. Do you know what I mean? But the support we've had from loads of friends since then, definitely Tina. I think Tina felt a bit of guilt over that, because I think she felt like she was getting all the support from everybody. You get showered with gifts and flowers. I think she kind of felt really bad, because she's like, well, no one's noticing you in this, so I don't need a gift or a bunch of flowers for myself. Do you know what I mean? It's nice that people care about you, really. And then moving a bit forward from there, we couldn't get any closure, I don't think, and because the vicar was on holiday, so we couldn't get Sonny's body cremated. In that time, his body needed to be blessed by the vicar. Couldn't, because he was on holiday, they couldn't get another vicar in, and it was such a nightmare. But then the day of his cremation, it was only a small thing. Me, my wife, and her mum and dad went down, and it's kind of, you have the moments in life where it kind of all pans out to, and it all kind of just goes smoothly for a reason. But we got there, obviously he was a bit teary and started crying, and the vicar's late. He's lost his car keys. But because of this, the undertaker there and the woman that does the reception, the ceremony of it all, we got talking. She was telling us like, oh yeah, he probably have another speeding ticket, because he's always late. He's always getting speeding tickets, and this is a vicar. And we're like, what? We get talking, and you feel like you know someone before he comes in the room.
Yeah.
And when he came in the room, you think, yeah, that's that sort of guy. Like, this guy was just a character. He was just like, oh, yeah. And then he went, these have got the right place this time. And we were like, what? He went, oh, yeah, last week I went to Kendal to do it instead of coming here, because I went to the... So you're thinking like, but but this guy's just, because he's such a lovely character, you just kind of just know nothing's malicious what he's doing. He's just...
It's just...
It's just up there, like. I think that really helped with it. I think it kind of cut out the tears a little bit, and then the undertaker pretty much said like, "Do you want to carry his coffin?" Well, I remember my wife just crying, and I just, you have to. I think as a dad, I think if you're in life, your kids rely on you for different situations. And that's the only time somebody's ever going to look at me and rely on me to do the right thing. And I feel like if I never carried him in, I wouldn't have done the right thing as a dad.
Yeah.
So I'm happy I did that. That's given me a little bit, I think, closure with him, and knowing that when it's become a point I've had to help him and do what I can, I've done it. I feel like, which is nice. Yeah. But yeah, since then, everything's, we had the funeral there, the cremation. And we moved on to this is a very unique one. I don't, if you've never had anybody in your family that's passed, you don't go through a company. You go and pick his remains up, or anybody's remains, and they come in a bag.
Oh really?
Yeah. I remember we picked them up. It's like a little cardboard box, and then you open the box up and it's just in a bag, and it's like, wow, what's going on here? So we've had to go back in like the next day, and we've had to go pretty much urn shopping. Like we had to find an urn we liked, and what would he like, and get him in it really pretty much, and order it in. So it's a pretty unique situation, which I never wish or hope on anybody really, because them sort of situations I've been in the past 2 months, me and my wife's been in, you would never want anybody else to go through that.
And I don't think you ever expect to be in that situation.
No,
do you?
no.
You don't ever expect.
No, not at all. I remember, I'm not fortunate, but there's a lad that I work under at work, and he's had the same sort of situation, and probably about a year ago, probably a bit less. I was talking to him about it, because he again will be, you go, how many kids you have? Classy when you're a dad.
Yeah.
Oh, how many kids you got, mate? You're married, aren't you? How many kids you got? Blah, blah, blah. You talk about kids. It's like a big thing. If you're a proud dad, you talk about your kids all the time. So again, in the army, with good dads in the army, again, I remember, is it Dan's podcast? He said about good dads and bad dads. Again, in the army, you get good dads and a lot of bad dads. This guy's a good dad, and I remember saying, like, how many kids you got? He said 3, and then he told me about 2, and I went, oh, what about your third one, mate? And he went, oh no, he was a stillborn as well. So then I got kind of a lot of what I got from this conversation, and he's been very good, to be fair. I've spoke to him a few times on the phone, even where you're in that position where you just kind of need to talk to someone. Not necessarily need to cry, you just want to talk to someone. And he's been amazing. Like little things like, what do you do with the urn? What have you done with that, mate? He sent me a picture of a little stand with a candle, and he says he lights it every year for his birthday, and it's like little things like when you bring the urn home, and like Sonny's in a little nice urn on the side at home, even when you go out the house, you get that guilt of feeling leaving your child at home, because you're a bit like, well, I've got 2 kids to the back, your wife, where's your little boy, really, you know what I mean?
And how did your children, your girls,
deal with
that?
So the eldest cried. I'll never forget her tears when we told them. They cry. She had, it was from her heart, really. You know what I mean? You could tell she was absolutely devastated. She was 6 at the time. She's just turned 7, but she's got ahead of an 18-year-old. She's so mature. And you could just tell, like, she was absolutely devastated. It's like she just lost a little part of herself. The youngest one didn't really understand it. She had a little cry, but didn't really understand it, to the point of being, she didn't really know what we meant by passing away and stuff, and he won't come home. To the point of being, when we went to collect Sonny's ashes, I remember saying to him, like, girls, the youngest was at nursery and he was doing the summer holidays. I said, you both need to get up in the morning because you'll come with Daddy and pick up Sonny. The youngest thought we was going to pick up a baby, because she didn't quite understand it. Where the eldest really has helped us. I think definitely me and my wife, where you emotionally feel like you can't talk about it. She's been really good, because the knowledge she has for a young girl, she's, no, it's this and it's that, it's we're doing this, and do you know what I mean? Little things like that.
And I guess that will keep you going as well, doesn't it? Like, you've got to keep.
It does, but it also gives you that fear, I think, as well. As your young family, you want to grow your family more. Like, I feel like I'll keep going me with kids. I'll 50 if I could. Just because they're so innocent souls, and it's unconditional love, isn't it, for them? And you don't ever feel love until you have a kid. I don't really think so. Like, even if you love your partner, you kind of don't. It's a different love.
Kind of love, isn't it?
And you do get that as soon as you see a baby. So I feel like you want your family to grow, but you also don't. I don't want to put my wife back in that situation of ever having to torment her body again, if that ever happened, or because I'll just remember it. I remember us having that conversation straight away, but it's probably a bit too early, where I was saying, if you don't ever want another child, it's fine. And I remember her just being like, never again, never want to do this again. Where you would never ever hold that against anybody, and I never would, do you know what I mean? And I feel like, as a husband and wife, me and her grown more in this time. I feel like we've unlocked a new level of love for each other, because as much as you love each other, you do take each other for granted. In my job, I'm away, I do take for granted sometimes that she's a single mum at home. She does everything pretty much herself, and she has to rely on family, and you shouldn't never have to rely on other people, I think, apart from your husband as a wife, and as a husband you should just rely on your wife. That should be it, really. That's your connection. But she's had to rely on them other people because of myself, and since this all happened, I do feel like the love for each other's got a lot stronger. Going to that though, of being relied on, I'm going back to work next week, and the whole reality of going back after everything that's gone on. She went back to work last Thursday, her first day back, and I think I wanted her to go back before myself, really, just so if she had a bad day, I was there.
Yeah.
But if she has a bad day in 2 weeks' time, I'm not there. I'm gonna be in a different country, so it's not gonna be as ideal. I just want to make sure that she's aware that I'm very supportive of what's going on. And she's got me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And same with the girls. The
Yeah.
girls have got me if they need me. Because again, like you say, they talk about Sonny every day. We don't hide the fact that we got a third child, and I don't think you should do that. That's another thing I asked my friend. I said to him, how do you tell people about kids? Like, I need to. I said, you just don't. You do have 3 kids. They are your kids. You're sadly not here physically right now, but he's still there. He's your child, and it's so true. Because at first, again, being a dad of 2 daughters, I never thought I'd have a son. So ringing up to ask about him in the morgue and going, my son. I'm just ringing up about my son. It's the words I didn't think I'd ever come out of my mouth. So when it did come out of my mouth, you don't think it's in that context of having ringing a morgue up, you know.
What do you wish you could change about parenting in general, as in for everyone?
Sure, I had a good think about this question. I haven't thought about many others, that's why it's probably all a bit up in the air. But this one hit home, I think, last night to me, where I was listening to another podcast and there was one about like nursery and stuff like that. Yeah, 100% agree. I think it's an absolute shock that we have to pay the nursery bills we do pay. But then nurseries also need to be open for us, and we went to both our kids and my wife again went to Butterflies Nursery in Isham, and that nursery is amazing. I would even pay more money and be skint myself because of what the job they do there. They do such an amazing job, and they deserve everything. They've been amazing to us throughout the full situation of everything. Like I said, my wife went there 30 years ago. She went there 28 years ago, so on. So it's been a part of her family for years, and that place now is a part of our family, I think. But one thing I would change massively is IVF. The cost of IVF it's not ridiculous because it's what comes from it, and no price of a life has a value. But looking now at friends I've got in the army who struggle to have kids because they are away too much, because of the country, the job title, and I have some friends that we have to sign waivers after you've been so long away from your family. So it's the government's way of you saying you give permission to be away from your family without suing him, or so on and so forth. Where I've had loads of mates where we're away, you're in a different country, going, if you don't sign it, you have to get sent home. But think about your career and your reputation, stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And it's shocking, and lads are like forced into really signing it because they don't want to be that guy that doesn't. So I know 2 friends at the moment that one, their son is about 6 months old now. They went for IVF because he was always away, so they had to go for IVF to have a baby. And like I was saying before, her sister-in-law, they've just had a baby. They just had a baby. He was born on Saturday night, and he came home yesterday, and we went around seeing him, and I was looking at him, and you know when before you got there, you did a classic, do you need anything? We need some bread and we need some milk. Great. And if you like me, you just eat normal bread. Any bread's bread, But they're like, what bread would you like? It's like, seeded bread and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, that's like an extra 20p, that. So we got the bread, we got the milk, and then my wife was like, tell them what they want for tea. Don't ask them, tell them what we're getting them. What you's having? We're not having anything. What are you having? We're just getting you some tea. So we went and got them a Domino's. And we went around after, and her sisters, they're lovely people, and they're like, how much do we owe you? And it's like, I'm thinking in my head, like, you've just paid thousands of pounds to have this little human, and maternity now sort of hit you so hard with the pay cuts and your money gets literally taken off. You have no money, do you?
No.
You got not you. They're not to have anything now for the next 9 months. They got the savings. They got everything. They got to be all right. They got a good family. They got to be fine. But I'm thinking like, don't worry about a £20 pizza and some bread and milk. Like, I don't want any money from you. As much as you do, I didn't say that because I don't want them to feel like we're thinking it like that. But you just paid for this life to be born, which you shouldn't have to pay.
No,
the money you've had to pay. Because it's ridiculous how much it is.
And it's a postcode lottery.
It literally is,
It blows my mind. I can't comprehend how they work it. It just,
yeah, it doesn't really make much sense, really. And
no.
So the money they've done, and with the situation they're in, because it's all LGBTQ plus community. Sadly, as 2 women, they've had to go through IVF. Not sadly, but they had to go through IVF to get the outcome they wanted. And her sister's partner, she's already got 2 kids as well through IVF. So you work out all that money that they've made. They've had to fund for that family to be a family. They've now got 2 girls and a little boy, and that's so much funding.
And it's just the amount of money that's wasted on other stuff that could, I can't even, it really frustrates me.
Yeah, it really does. Definitely when you
like you say, that it's a life.
Yeah.
Like,
you shouldn't have to, like, I know myself for the army, they do have some cases where the army funds one session of IVF. I don't really know how IVF works. I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert, but they do fund so much. So I know my friend, he got it for free.
Yeah.
But I know another friend that had to pay.
Okay,
But we're both in the army. But one could go down a scheme and one couldn't because of the certain bracket they must have hit.
And it's like you're allowed this much, but then if it don't work, well, that's your
chance.
How can you put that on somebody?
Yeah.
Everybody should have a right to have a child.
Yeah.
You know, like, if they want one and it can't happen naturally, well, they shouldn't be penalised because of, like, where they live or how much they earn, or, you know, how many attempts they've had already.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. It shouldn't work
like
that.
It shouldn't be. Yeah, you say, like, it's pretty much dictated, isn't it, by someone that doesn't really understand people's situations and what they are. And you don't know what their life's like. Even if someone's got 12 kids and technically they still have a child and they have to go for IVF, and they can. They should still be able to if everything's still functioning correctly. It's such a shame. So, like, with her sister, this boy's beautiful, a little beautiful boy, but he's a really bittersweet for me and my wife, because everything from 2 months prior was Sonny, and then I had this feeling yesterday with my wife straight away as soon as he's born. I really hope to let me go up. I really want to go up to the hospital. I want to, and then she literally did. They're like, yeah, come up and see him. She was gone. She come back, and I could see her. She was so happy when she came home, and she's like, I just feel a bit guilty, but I say, do you know what I mean? I feel like I shouldn't be this happy because of Sonny, but at the same time, you gotta be, because her sister has just had her first baby. Do you know what I mean? And because I've been in the family for 14 years, and I've known her for 14 years, and she's coming into late 30s now. It's not her last time to have a child, but that moment where it gets more risky, doesn't it? She needed that child really now. So it's that bittersweet, and then I had that feeling yesterday. She's like, we're gonna go around and see the baby, have some like birthday, baby cake and stuff like that. And I even had that feeling of, you know what I mean? Like, you want to be there for them, but at the same time, you just got to think about your little boy, and you think like, kind of not. It should be us bringing a baby home as well, and everybody coming to us, and you just. But them feelings kind of do go straight away when you become, if you're level-headed kind of thing, you kind of get used to it. And I feel like the situation with Sonny, I think I've gone through quite a hard life, so it feels like it doesn't affect me, I don't think, as much as my wife, because I feel like I've been through quite a lot, and with stuff with death and stuff like that. As humans, we're not really used to death, are we?
No.
But I feel like with situations that I've been in with family and even some like work friends, and just friends in general, everybody in general, you kind of get used to death being a kind of like an accepted thing. So I feel like I've accepted it all a bit more than other people might have. Yeah. But that's just the situation I've been in previously. But yeah, IVF is, that would change that in a heartbeat. Definitely, I don't know if something, I don't even know how to get into it. I'm not a politician, money wise, and they've put a target on it, but these certain businesses must make so much money from it as well, and a desperate parent would pay anything for a child.
That's it, isn't it?
You wouldn't, you like, I would, anybody would. I think you would literally,
whatever you could, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's the big one. I'll say that's like the main thing. Prior to thinking about that, if I didn't go and see Baby last night and go and see them last night, I probably wouldn't have thought about it in that context. If they didn't ask me for how much the takeaway cost me, I wouldn't have thought about it. But it's crazy what triggers your mind. Yeah. And like I said there, I think to myself, 20 quid takeaway, I think I'd be a bit of a scumbag if I took it. You wouldn't, That's 2 loads of baby milk. That's babies feeding for the next 2 weeks. It's little things like that.
Yeah. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please don't forget to follow, review and share with other parents you know. You can now listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music and YouTube. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please get in touch via any of my social media channels, website or email. Thank you, Kane, for joining me on today's podcast. It's been great to have you. And thank you to everyone for listening.